Hey there. I have been listening to podcasts as I organize the house. And for those of you that have been watching me for the last however many months, you'll know that I'm a fan of Tim Ferriss. And so I was listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast, and he was talking to Brene Brown. If you don't know who Brene Brown is, she is a researcher, and she did a TED Talk called Power of Vulnerability, I think, and it was one of the top 5 TED Talks of all time, more than 35 million views. If you have not heard of her, go watch it. It's excellent. And she was on talking to Tim Ferriss, and they were talking about the vulnerability, and they were talking about how to really share things that are not necessarily something that people normally share. And I like to think that I tell a great deal of my stories. Sorry, that was a fly. It was a fruit fly, so you probably can't see it. I was just so I tell my stories of this is what happened during the day, or this is a hard thing that happened. But very rarely do I tell stories that I don't know if shame is the right word, but anyway, I can't describe exactly how I feel about this. But I'm going to share with you a story of a mistake that I made. And normally I would tell a story like this and say but I didn't know, or whatever, and I'm learning and it's fine. But this one, I'll just tell it. I'm stalling. I did a set of taxes a year ago. I had a client did taxes for them, and it had been over the course of a number of months, because I would send an email and then it would take a while to get a response, and it took a long time. It happens. That's not abnormal. But when that happens, it's difficult for me to remember where I was in those taxes. And I don't have a great process for doing that. I'm getting better. I'm taking better notes. But a year ago, I really didn't have a good process for it. And I had received the information in this tax package, and there was a letter from the CPA that had done the taxes the year before saying this is how much you were going to owe, this client was going to owe in installment payments. That's what it was. It was installment payments. And so it was $11,000 in installment payments. And so I had put it in as a placeholder in my tax file, in the tax return that I was doing in my program. And I had said, okay, $11,000 in installments. And then I had asked the client, did you make these installments? And it took a while to get back, and they had said no. But I didn't go back and take it out of the file. I missed it. I didn't do it right when I got the email, and I didn't write it down, or I didn't record it to go back and do it later. I didn't put a note in the file, the actual tax return itself. And so I missed it. And I filed the return with the installment payments in there. So it looked like the client needed to pay $11,000 less than was actually owing. So instead of paying $19,000, they only paid $8,000. And I didn't hear anything else. And then I did their taxes again this year, filed again. It took a while to sort of get it done, but then they got their notice of assessment back, and I had said that they only owed, I don't know, $6,000 or $7,000 this year. And they sent me a letter and just said, sent me an email with a letter that they had got from the CRA, and the CRA had said that they actually owed $23,000 or something like that. And this client was obviously very upset by this. They own a small business. They've been hit by the pandemic. And so the idea of getting a $23,000 bill from the CRA was not at all what they wanted. I mean, you never want a $20,000 bill from the CRA, but like it was just so devastating for them to get this bill. And so they sent it to me and they were like, the CRA says that I owe a lot more than you said. Like, what's going on, basically? So they sent this note to me on a Friday, and I read it and I looked into it, and I asked, did you, I said, did you make those installment payments in 2018? Can I, like, do we have proof of those payments? Because we can just send it to the CRA. Like, we can just say, like, you guys missed a payment, basically. And then they sent back, like, I don't know what you mean about installment payments. And so I left it over the weekend to kind of like get my head around it. And then on Monday, this person sent me an email just saying, like, do I need a lawyer? Like, what's going on? Not like a lawyer against me, like a lawyer to take on the CRA, basically. And so I looked into it and I said, no, actually, here's what happened. And I explained about the installment payments and that I had missed it and I had made a mistake, and that, like, I'm so sorry, basically. That this amount had been outstanding, so interest had accrued, and then plus they had gotten this $20,000 bill from the CRA, which was just like, that's terrible. That's damaging for sure. Even if it ends up getting worked out, that's still damaging. And so I had called the CRA and I looked into it, and this client had made $15,000 in installments for 2020, and the business, because of the pandemic, was going to be significantly less than it was in 2019. So they didn't actually need to make installments for 2020. So I ended up just transferring the $15,000 in 2020 installments backwards to the $20,000, and they had, or 23,000, and they had already made the payment, and so it all ended up coming to zero. And they are just going to make some installments for 2020 anyways, just to be safe. I don't think that they'll need to, but so it ended up working out. And except that there was, interest that had accrued in the year that this amount of money had been outstanding. And so I had talked to her on the phone and just explained what had happened and just said, like, listen, I'm so sorry. I missed this. And, we've worked it out now. It's zero now. But yeah, like, I'm just so sorry. And so I did pay for the interest that had accrued on that amount, because that was my fault. And it was still their responsibility to pay the taxes that they owed, because that had nothing to do with me. But yeah, I paid the interest that had accrued on that. And it really forced me to look at my own processes and my own business and just say, like, man, I really got to shore up the sides of this business, basically. Like it's not okay to do that kind of thing. And like, I know that's only one case in the how many tax returns and whatever that I've done, but as a professional, I feel like I'm expected to be perfect and that I'm not allowed to make mistakes. And I think especially dealing with money, there's a lot of negative emotion, or just emotion in general, tied into money and taxes. And I'm supposed to be able to support people and help them through that feeling. And if your accountant isn't perfect, I know, like, as I'm saying this, it's like, of course we're human, but like, if I'm not perfect and this person that comes to me and has a lot of fear around this is like the mistakes are just magnified, because the feeling of this is terrible is already there. And so I have a really, really hard time with making mistakes. And I think more importantly, with sharing the mistakes that I make, because I do feel that I should be perfect. And so I don't generally share these stories with you. I normally just sort of keep it in. Oh, Michelle's watching. Hi, Michelle. Michelle is a fellow accountant. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I did try to fix it. I did fix it ultimately. But yeah, I don't know. I know that professionals make mistakes, but yeah, that's one of those things where I don't often share them because they really do feel like it's like I'm somehow like less because I make mistakes as a professional. Yeah, I am really happy that I fixed that problem, and I sort of felt like a close call in a sense. Where like, oh my goodness, that could have been a lot worse. But yeah, still really fresh. Anyways, I would love to hear your stories about maybe something that was a close call. If it doesn't feel good to share something that was a mistake or that was hard, or maybe share a story where something happened and it was a service provider that you were working with and they made a mistake and what they did to make you feel better about it, and just a good story like this. And if you want to sign up for my newsletter, it's not perfect, but it's excellent. I left a link to it in the description. It's kirkcpa.ca/news. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you tomorrow.